Lekki massacre, EndSars. Somehow this has been hedged in our memory as a very ugly period in our history as a nation. However, when the news broke first, I read it first from the Gazette, the online publication Gazette, and it said, after 3 years of denial, the Lagos state government admits to murdering people at Lekki massacre and then set for to bury 103 Lekki massacre victims. I read through that story. There was something was missing. In the letter he allegedly published, he didn't really have proper details that says this is actually the victim. So now, this created a lot of controversy online over the evening and last night, but the Lagos state government have come to respond to say, hey, that is not the issue. Let's bring you in here, please.
First, just as you were giving the narrative, something immediately came to my mind. They say conscience is an open wound, and only the truth can heal it. That's, I think it's Madame Fodio. That used to be like a soundbite for the Guardian newspaper, the old Guardian newspaper. And it's sad that at this point in time, we have to be reminded of that part of the history. We have to be reminded of that part of the history. It also brings to fore the fact that nobody does anything, and then at some point there are certain facts that you cannot damp. You may be able to suppress them, but over time they still resurface. I actually thought that when I first saw that, when I first saw it online, I thought, could it be that somebody is trying to impugn the character or the reputation of some other person? And I was expecting also a reaction for the Lagos state government to say that no, that this memo is not true, and that something had happened. Maybe some persons are trying to make sure that some certain things that are tending towards libel. But for the state government, so I was also waiting for a reaction to look at what the state government will say. And from what you have read out now, for the state government to come out to say that it was not only in Lekki, excluding Lekki, which was the high point, high point of that crisis, which has been a contentious story as to what happened in that place. Even at some point, dragging in some security organizations to have expended, some ammunition, on those that were demonstrating. But their own narrative is to exclude the Lekki gates, but to say that in other places that it happened, and this 103, the mere fact that you are talking about 103 deaths itself, and admitting to the fact that these persons were all part of the EndSars from several places, it is repulsive for me. 103 persons. 103 persons. We are not talking about flies now.
And one will burying them now.
We are not talking about flies.
3 years after.
They said they did a coroner inquest and all that. The state coroner was there to come up with a full report, and that now, having done the investigation at that time, they have even called for people to come and identify their corpse, but no person have come up to identify this 103. 103. It's not 2, it's not 5, it's not 10. So it's something that is very serious. 103 citizens, ended up in the EndSars. So it also tells us about the management of the institutions of violence, and those that are commanding such institutions. Please, I think this shouldn't repeat itself. There should be better ways of managing violence, better ways of protecting the citizens, and also the citizens appreciating the fact that those security agencies that come out, if 103 persons died, who knows if some of them are even security agents, the citizens too ought to appreciate that some of these people are carrying out their legitimate duties as security organizations. We are talking about citizens, 103 persons. That's a very huge number. Not talking about the amount that is being earmarked to bury them. That pales in significance when you look at the number of persons that are involved. I think we need to be careful in this country, especially in our management of such demonstrations, public demonstrations.
Now, when you say we need to be careful in this country, and I just find it funny because, again, the role of public relations professionals within the government, how do you write a letter with EndSars as a hashtag and all of that, and you're not struggling with explaining to the people? Meanwhile, this is something you should have done. But Barrister Young, how is it possible that there are 103 cops within that 2020 period when people are looking for their loved ones and they couldn't identify any? I don't know. Is the government saying that these people were killed in Lagos or they died in Lagos, but at different points? We agree. But is the government saying that nobody have been able to identify these persons? Help me make better sense of this. How did they arrive in Lagos?
Yes.
How come they don't have family? How come nobody is in position to say, oh, I've seen my lost father, I've seen my lost uncle or lost son or daughter or something?
Yes,
how did we get to that point?
For me, it's as curious as you are even imagining it. 103 persons. Well, we don't also take away the fact that we are talking about Lagos State, a state that has put its population in the neighborhood of about how many? About 20 million. In fact, they had also done an internal census of the population that they have there to contest even the outcome of the 2006 population exercise. In furtherance of it, they had carried on an internal census. So it's a hugely populated place, and we have freedom of movement. We have a lot of migration, labor migration, and so on. That you find people go to Lagos, and during that strike or during that demonstration, anything could have happened.
All right.
Or is it that information? The other thing is, if 103 persons, we are getting to know that 103 persons are not yet identified and are to be buried. The 103 persons within, this is about 3 years now.
Yes.
Could it be that there's suppression of information, or what really happened?
It is honestly disturbing.
We need to do another investigation into the circumstances that have led to this.
But they are going to bury them. Approval has been given to bury them. That's a mass burial.
But opportunity should also be given for people to come identify.
If there are
because
it will help to give closure.
Yes, which also depends on how these corpses may have been managed over this period. For it to be, we are talking about corpses. We are talking about corpses. So for 3 years, how were they managed? Which morgue were they? Which mortuary were they kept? And how efficient? So that the texture, the frame, and
but if there is a coroner inquest, it means that there are some form of identities that has been attached to these individuals, age and what have you. At least if there are scars on the body, if there are old scars before their death, teeth, dentition doesn't really decay easily. Bones, there are certain things that they could actually use to identify. Maybe, who knows, if you're looking for a teenage son, for instance, that has got missing since the EndSars, that could be a way for you to say, if there are age brackets, you understand? There are some, at least, to have a closure. Let the families have a closure. I just hope that the Lagos State government can hold on and give, now that they've made this public, that they have 103 corpses, I hope they can give the public opportunity to at least. I mean, I know I have a friend who lost the dad, though it wasn't in 2020. The father just disappeared in Lagos. There may be other stories like that. Let people actually have the opportunity to go check these things out before you dump them to the earth.
I actually thought that when I first saw it, I thought that labeling, you know, could even be a wrong one. I was thinking that, you know, from time to time, even in the River State here, there was a time when they actually asked people to come identify some of the unidentified corpses that they had in the old General Hospital in Port Harcourt Township when they were trying to rebuild it. And people actually, some people went to make the claims. For others who couldn't come, they gave them a mass burial. So I was thinking that, could it be an aggregate of persons over the years, but now giving it a wrong labeling to get the funds out? But for the state government to come out now to say that, look, that these people, because by their claim now, by their counter claim now, let me put it as a counter claim. Yeah, by their counter claim now, that these people, they are more concerned about the fact that it's not something that happened in Lekki.
And which is even more troubling.
Yes,
which is even more troubling.
These are things that happened in several other places, which even makes it more curious for stakeholders and other citizens to be concerned about.